We're starting today right after the Mishnah and the Malach from the base. The Mishnah, we had a machlokes, 4 opinions, but four people with 2 opinions. Basically, someone ends up outside of his tchum, and he ends up in an enclosed area. So, from Gamliel and Rabbi Ben Azariah said that enclosed area becomes like Dalaramas for him. And he's allowed to walk that whole area. And Rabbi Shua and Rabbi Akiva, they held that no, he only has his 4 arms. Okay. Start from the Gemara. The Gemara says, Tan Rabbanan. There's 3 things that make a person go against his own will and also against the will of his creator. Now, the Ben Yehoyada explains that it affects the person's concentration when he's doing his own things and when he's davening. Elohim, this is the following 3. Ayudikechavim, idolaters, Gentiles or idolaters. Ruach Ra, it's an evil spirit. A demon, Rashi said before, what's a Ruach Ra. Other one is Dikduke Anias, intense poverty. It affects his concentration throughout the day. Why do you have to stop?
I thought that jealousy is one. That I thought in the Pirkei Avos it says that drives you from this world.
Oh yeah.
Jealousy.
What were the other 2 over there? Akina, Taiva, Rakavad, right?
This is the same thing, but this is one that
you
can't control.
Right. Trying to connect with these things. That I just like without putting thought into it, that mission is referring to things that are inside a person, like characteristics that are inside a person.
Oh, this is like
These seems to be things that are external that are affecting. So,
okay.
What's the difference? Why do you have to tell me this? That he should daven for them. There's different interpretations, but according to the Ben Yehoyada, it would be that you need to daven beforehand, that it doesn't happen. Other things that go wrong, so you daven for them. But this, you won't be able to daven afterwards. You have to daven before that it doesn't happen. This is daven, you shouldn't get dementia or something like that, Alzheimer's. After a person has it, could be can't daven. He doesn't even have the head to daven. So you daven before. That's basically what this Gemara is saying, according to the Ben Yehoyada. Other interpretations is that you shouldn't judge a person that these things are happening to. You should just have pity on him. Okay, now it says, 3 people don't see Gehenna. Elohim. This is intense poverty. There's stomach illnesses. Barashus, Rashi translates that as creditors. Other interpretations, the Taste of Springs, Rabbeinu Hananel, government things, Havizim Barashus. Okay, these are things that cause such suffering that a person doesn't, he gets his suffering in this world, he doesn't have to go through Gehenna. Some say also a person that has a bad wife. So that gets added on. He doesn't go to Gehenna. There's jokes about this, not for now. There's, what does the other opinion hold? Why didn't he put in, why does the opinion that say 3, what's Ishara sounds like pretty bad. Why doesn't he say that also doesn't get a go to Ganem. He says, no, that's his fault. He should have divorced her. Stam, he is bringing suffering on himself. Okay. V'idach. What is the one that say Yishara doesn't go to Ganem? So Zimnan the Ksubasa Meruba, you can't always divorce. She has a very large Ksuba. It's gonna be too expensive to divorce her. Okay. The lawyers also. So Inami is the Banamine Vlamatsalagaj. So it also could be that he has children. It's not practical to divorce her. So he doesn't go to Gehenna. Gemara over here doesn't describe what a Yishara is. Yeah, even the commentary. That's other Gemaras tell us what a Yishara is. Gemara Yavamas. She prepares his plate. There's two opinions there. She prepares his plate, and then she also prepares her mouth for to curse him, I think, while he's eating it. So she prepares him food, and the other one is she turns her back when she serves him the food, and then turns her back like she's not interested in sitting with him when he's eating it. Okay, whatever the explanation is over there. Now we're holding L'maynach Kamina. Why do we have to tell me that he doesn't go to Gehenna? We'll find out later. It says no, L'kibulim Mi'ava. If he accepts these things out of love, he recognizes that this is an atonement, so then it works. So you should accept it, Ba'ava, with love, because you should know that this is atoning for him. Shleisham Mesim K'shem Mesapim. 3 people die while they're talking. That means they die suddenly. The Elohim. Someone that has a stomach illness. Bechaya means giving birth. But Draken we translate it as edema. Like bloated, the swelling fills up with water. Something like that. Dr. Stein, any comment?
Could be liver or kidney disease causing ascites, third spacing of fluid. That's all.
So all of these 3, they die in there. It's like suddenly, L'maynach Kamina, why are you telling me this? And whatever happens, you can't control that. The Mishmushal Bahu is Vadsa. You should prepare the shrouds, the Tachrichim, because you never know. Okay. Little Agadat over there probably came in because we mentioned Ruach Ra in the Mishnah, that someone was taken out of the Tchum. We said, who took him out of the Tchum? We said it was either non-Jews or Ruach Ra. So we mentioned the Ruach Ra. Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Shmuel. Rav Nachman says in the name of Shmuel. Nachman is a student of Shmuel. And he says, Yatza Ladas, a person goes out of the Tchum intentionally, then in Le'el Arba'amis. He has to stay within the 4 Amas. So he walked, let's say he set up an Eruv outside the city. Or even if he didn't set up an Eruv, he walks outside of the city. And he walks out of the 2,000 Amas. So then he's stuck. He has to stay within those 4 Amas. We'll see what he's going to have to do if he needs the bathroom. But, okay. That's a statement. The Gemara says, Pshita, I don't need Rav Nachman and Shmuel to tell that to me. That I know from Mishnayos. Hashta Mishitzir Nachman Dalet Amas. 1 second. Even if he's taken out against his will, call it Shegeg, Bainas. He's taken out against his will by non-Jews or by a Ruach Ra. And he only has 4 Amas. So if he walks out intentionally, for sure he only has 4 Amas. Yatzal Das Mi Bai. Midas Das Mi Bai. If he goes out intentionally, you think he's going to get more area to walk? No. He went out of the Tchum, not telling us how. The Goyim took him out. Whatever. He says, "Oh, I'm out of the Tchum." And he comes back in intentionally. So in the Mishnah we said, if they bring him back in, then Ki'ilu Lo Yatza. Then just like delete that whole thing. They brought him out, they bring him back in. If he's inside now. So he can walk around the whole, he gets his 2,000 amas back. Now we're saying that he was taken out of the tchum, but he comes back intentionally, then back to his location. It doesn't help that he's back to his location. And he only has Dalet Amos. Gemara says, Hanami Tanin, that's also Mishnah. I don't need Reb Nachman and Shmuel to tell me that. Achzir Nachrim, Kilo Layatza. Goyim bring him back. So it's as if he never left. Okay, good. But we're Medayik. We understand from that, it implies, Achziru, who the Kilo Layatza. If they bring him back, then that's when it's as if he never left. But I can imply from the Mishnah that if the Goyim bring him back, that's when he gets the 2,000 amas back. But if he comes back on his own, then he really only has Dalet amas. So again, if you read the Mishnah carefully, you have all the information that Rav Nachman and Shmuel are telling you. So why do I need Rav Nachman and Shmuel? Just read the Mishnah. Aleima, rather looking for a chiddush. Aleima, we should say Yatza Ladas, Chazru Nachrim, Ein Leila Dalet Amos. Different. We're saying he left intentionally. But when he's out there, he clearly only has Dalet Amos. That says the Mishnah. If the Goyim bring him back, so we said, if the Goyim take him out and bring him back, then he has his 2,000 amas back. But here, he's going out on his own, and the Goyim are bringing him back. So that it doesn't say in the Mishnah. We'll see. But we're understanding that that's what Shmuel means when he says, Ein Le'el Dalet Amos, when the Goyim bring him back after he left intentionally. Okay, Gemara says, Hanami Tanina. 1 second. If you look carefully, that's also in the Mishnah. Why? Because the Mishnah says, they took him out. The first line of the Mishnah is, Nachrim took him out, or Ruach Ra took him out. He only has Dalet Amos. Hechziru, if they brought him back, Ki'ilu Layatza. It says that it's as if he never left. So the Gemara is Medayik. It deduces. V'itziyu v'echziru hu the Ki'ilu Layatza. Abel Yatza Ladas Lai. Second. From the Mishnah it could be implied that only if he went out because the Goyim took him out, and he comes back because the Goyim brought him back, as he never did anything intentionally, that's when it's as if he never left and he has his 2,000 amas to walk. But if anything was done intentionally on his own, he doesn't have it. So even that is clear in the Mishnah. What's the chiddush of Shmuel? Gemara says, Mao the Tamil is Stadin Katani. Okay. The concept of Stadin, this one, I have 2 cases in the Mishnah. You have this in other Gemaras. I have 2 cases in the Mishnah. I could say that the second case is a follow-up of the first one. So for example, in our Mishnah, well, the Gemara is going to explain. Misha Tziu Nachrim, if Goyim took him out, he only has 4 amos. V'chazal Ladas, and he comes back on his own, Ein Le'el Dalet Amos, he only has 4 amos. Abel Yatza Ladas, but if he goes out on his own, V'chziru Nachrim, and the Goyim bring him back, Kilo Layatza, as if he never left. Let me explain what the Gemara is doing. If you look at the Mishnah, Mishitzir Nachrim Eruach Ra Ein Le'el Dalet Amos, I'm reading back in the Mishnah. If Goyim take him out, he only has 4 amos. Now, from the next case, Hechziru, if Goyim bring him back in, then it's as if he never left. That would imply that if he goes back on his own, he only has 4 amos. They have to bring him back. Now, if Hechziru Ki'ilu Layatza is a follow-up of the first case, the Goyim brought him out, and the Goyim bring him back in. So that's when it's as if nothing happened. So then you're right. Rav Nachman Amar Shmuel isn't telling me anything. But it could be that Hechziru is not a a continuation of the first case. Hechziru is its own case. He left on his own. And the Goyim bring him back. It's as if nothing happened. So then, that's what the Gemara here is saying. What's Rav Nachman Amar Shmuel saying? Yatsa Ladas in Layala Arbam. In other words, I had another way of learning the Mishnah, and therefore Shmuel is telling me a Chiddush. I could have learned the Mishnah that Yatsa Ladas, and the Goyim bring him back, that I could have learned that means he has 2,000 amas, Kamash Malan Shmuel, that's Kamash Malan, that the Mishnah is one case. And the only time he gets his 2,000 amas is if everything that happened here was Bahinus. He was forced. He was forced to come back. That's the Chiddush of Shmuel. Okay. That's a good question now. They asked Rabba, the Goyim took him out. He's outside the Tchum. He's in an open area. He needs the bathroom. What should he do? Amalahem, Rabba said to them, the respect for human dignity can push off even a Lysa say. Not sure what's the status of a person that's outside the Tchum. He wasn't supposed to walk outside the Tchum. Is there now a biblical law? Well, it's in general Tchumen is machlekes if it's a biblical law or a rabbinic law. It's machlekes about Sham. But now that he's outside the Tchum, the fact that he can't walk that more than Dalet Amos, what happens then? Anyway, whatever it is, it says Gadol Kavod Abrius, that he's allowed to walk to find to go to a private place to use the bathroom. It's probably no bathrooms, a private place to relieve himself. Amri Nardai, they said in Nardai, if he's a smart fellow, so Ayal Tchuma, he should walk back towards the Tchum to look for the private area. Even the Al. Once he's inside the Tchum, he's in the Tchum. Now, based on what we just learned before from Shmuel, if you walk back on your own, or based on Mishnah, if you come back on your own, it doesn't help you at all. You're still stuck in your Dalet Amos. So this Gemara would need to be explained. Rashi explains it, that because you have permission to do that walking, so that's no worse than if the Goyim brought you back. The Goyim brought you out, the Goyim brought you back, then it's as if nothing happened. So here, you have permission to come back. You have permission to look for a private area. So then you get the 2,000. It's as if the Goyim brought you back. It's no worse than if the Goyim brought you back. Okay. Amar Rav Papa. Rav Papa introduces to us an interesting concept. Let's say produce went out of the Tchum, and then B'chazru, and it came back into the Tchum. I feel a b'mezid, even if it was on purpose. Nothing. There's no loss. They're back into the Tchum. They have the 2,000 amas.
Were they carried or rolled out and then rolled back? Like the wind blew it out and blew it back?
It doesn't say. It doesn't say. Right here it doesn't say. The Gemara is going to get into in a moment. Were they taken out the Shaygeg? They're taken out the Mezid? The Gemara is going to get into that. Now we're learning. My time on Nusim Nino. Nusim Nino. What does that mean? Whoever brought them out, it's not their fault. And blame the truth. Whoever brought them out. Now, once they're back, it's just like a fellow that the Goyim took him out, and they come back. So now they have their 2,000 amas. Isvei Rab Yosef Bar Shammai Rav Papa. Yosef Bar Shammai asks Rav Papa. Rav Papa is a later Amora. He's a student of Rava. So it's towards the end of the Amorai period. And Rab Yosef Bar Shammai, I'm not sure. Yeah, his question is like this. Rav Nechemia, Rabbi Elias ben Yaakov Aimrim, Rav Nechemia and Rabbi Elias ben Yaakov say, we're going to have a little bit more of Rav Nechemia and Rabbi Elias ben Yaakov shortly. Lo'ilam asurim ad sheyachzuru l'mkayman shaygigin. The fruits are always asur unless they come back b'shaygig. Shaygigin b'meis b'lai. Papa, there's a problem with your statement. Papa said that if they come back even b'meizid, you're allowed to eat them. That's not what we learned in this brisa. Rav Nechemia and Rav Elias ben Yaakov say that you can't eat them if they come back b'meizid. You can only eat them if they came back b'shaygig. It's not telling us exactly what the case of shaygig is. Maybe someone didn't realize or something. So to answer Rav Papa, we answer it like this. We say Tanai. We say that yes, you're right about the statement that you quoted. However, there's another opinion. It's not a kashan Rav Papa. Rav Papa follows the other opinion. Okay, let's see. The Tanya was started in a brisa. That's a big chiddush. They're outside the tchum now, and still b'shagig you're allowed to eat it. That we didn't see anywhere. That nachrim sheitziu, if goyim take a person out, he only has his dalet amas. Now we're learning that fruits that go out b'shagig, you could eat them. The May said you can't eat them. Now, the truth is, b'shagig doesn't mean that you're allowed to move them around. B'shagig just means you can eat them right there. So it's not a contradiction to our Mishnah. It just means that there's no decree on them. You're allowed to eat them in their place. But b'meizid you can't eat them. Okay. Now, Rab Nechemia says, B'mkayman yoichlu. B'mkayman means in their place. It's referring to if they come back to their original location, then you're allowed to eat them. But if not in their original place, then you can't eat them. So, Reb Nechemia is arguing on the Tanna Kama. The Gemara is unclear what exactly the machlokes is, because he doesn't directly discuss the case of the Tanna Kama. The Tanna Kama is discussing outside the Tchum, where it makes a difference between b'shegeg and b'mezid. Reb Nechemia says, in the Tchum, you're allowed to eat it. So outside the Tchum, he's probably arguing with the Tanna Kama that even b'shegeg you can't eat it. What about in the Tchum? Does he say that you're always allowed to eat it? So the Gemara needs to figure out what he's on. In other words, whenever you have a machlokes like this, where the Tanna Kama says a statement regarding one scenario, and the next opinion says a statement regarding another scenario, it's unclear exactly what the machlokes is. Would be better. It would be easier for us if they would discuss the same scenario and then tell me the halacha that each one holds. So the Gemara starts off like this: My bim kaiman. What is the case of bim kaiman, where Rabbi Nechemia allows it? Bim kaiman b'mezid. Oh, interesting. Let's say Rabbi Nechemia allows it even b'mezid, that it was brought back into the tchum. Baktani behedya. 1 second. We have another statement. Rabbi Nechemia v'Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov Aimrim Laila Masur Mad Shachzur Lim Kaiman Shaygigin. We had that statement before. That was the statement that Rabbi Yosef Bar Shammai quoted. Rabbi Yosef Bar Shammai asked Rav Papa that they're usher until Ad Sheyachzur Lim Kaiman Shaygigin. That was his kasha on Rav Papa. Rav Papa says that Chazra Afil b'mezid lo yafsidu es mekayman. He asked, 1 second, Reb Nechemia and Reb Elazar ben Yaakov hold that it has to come back b'shegeg to be able to have their original location. Now, then we quoted a brisa. Brisa was a little bit vague. It says, B'mkaiman, you could eat it. But I know from the statement before that B'mkaiman, in their place, is only B'shegeg. Okay. B'shegeg again, B'mezid Lai, it's only B'shegeg. So we need to redefine what Reb Nechemia means when he says B'mkaiman. Elalab B'mkaiman B'shegeg, it must mean that B'mkaiman is B'shegeg. Reb Nechemia says it's only Mutter B'shegeg. Come out. But there's two machlekes in it. According to the Tanakama, B'shegeg is even outside the tchum, you're allowed to eat it. Inside the tchum, you can probably eat it B'shegeg and B'mezid, if it's brought back B'shegeg and B'mezid. Reb Nechemia says outside the tchum you can never eat it, and inside the tchum only if it came back B'shegeg. Outside the tchum is a machlekes, and inside the tchum is a machlekes. That's what come out. And the machlekes is in the brisa is missing words. It has to be taught like this. Fruits that went out of the tchum, produce that went outside, if it went out b'shegeg geichlu, you can eat it. But meisad lo yechlu, you can't eat it outside the tchum. Okay, Tanakama is made to that. That b'meisad, you can't eat it. No one seemed to argue with that. But Papa's b'meisad was only when it was brought back to meisad. When do we say that this is an issue? That's only if it's outside of its place. But if it's returned to its place, you can eat it even if it was brought back If it was brought back on purpose into the tchum, you could still eat it. Who holds that? Tanakama. But who else holds that? Rav Papa. That's what Rav Papa's answering when he said Tanai. They asked him Akasha. He says, no, there's another opinion here. This is his opinion. He says if it was brought back b'mezid, you can eat it. Reb Nechemia l'meimer. Reb Nechemia says, I feel b'mkaiman nami b'shegeg and b'mezid lai. That statement that you said, Tanakama, b'shegeg, yes, b'mezid lai, and you applied it outside the tchum, Reb Nechemia says, no, that statement belongs in the tchum when it comes back. So in other words, he agrees to that b'shegeg in b'mezid lai. Yes, b'shegeg, but not b'mezid, just not in the same place, only if it's broken. Gemara says, like, it's not necessarily the machlekes. So up until here, the machlekes was outside the tchum. Tanakama has a heter. If it's brought out b'shegeg, you can eat it. Reb Nechemia doesn't have any heter. Inside the tchum, the Tanakama is mater shegeg and mezid, and Reb Nechemia is mater shegeg and mezid. Gemara says, like, it's not necessarily the machlekes. It could be the mezid, b'makayman, the kuli amalei pligi deyaser. Could be even in the tchum, not like Rav Papa. Everyone holds if it's brought back mezid, you can't eat it. We're arguing about outside the tchum b'shegeg. Tanakama saver b'shegeg shari shleib b'mkaiman. Tanakama says that b'shegeg was mutter if it was brought out. That was mamash the words. Perish yatzachutz l'tchum b'shegeg yeichlo. Okay, very good. We're reading the Tanakama clearly. Reb Nechemia savar. Reb Nechemia holds afil shegeg b'mkaiman in shleib b'mkaiman light. Reb Nechemia says that b'shegeg yes, b'mezid not. That's only after it returned. What do the Tanakama hold in Kaiman? What would the Tanakama say in Kaiman? The Kuliyama, one more time. B'mezid, b'mkaiman, the Kuliyama pligi the aser. Everyone holds that it's aser b'mkaiman. If it's b'mezid, if it's returned b'mezid, everyone holds it's aser. Reb Nechemia says that if it's returned b'shegeg, it's mutter. And the Tanakama says even if it was brought out b'shegeg, it's mutter. But no one says that there's a heter on Mezid if it's returned. According to that, Rav Papa loses his source. Rav Papa says that if it's returned to Mezid, it's mutter. According to this way of reading it, we lose that source because no one says return to Mezid is mutter. Everyone holds that B'shegig is mutter, and the question is where. And Chemli says B'shegig is mutter when it's returned. Tanakama holds B'shegig is mutter even when it's brought out. But B'mezid is also when it's returned. The Gemara says or if it's brought out, of course. The Gemara says 1 second. You can't say that. Say for Reb Nechem Reb Lez Ben Akvam Loy Lamasur Mad Shaflam Kam B'shegig again. Now we quote back Reb Yosef Bashami's statement. Reb Yosef Bashami quote, Reb Nechem and Reb Lez Ben Yaakov say that it's always aser unless it's brought back b'shegig. B'shegig again, b'mezid light. That means only b'shegig, not b'mezid. Michlal, but that implies Tanakama sav b'mezid nami shari. That the Tanakama hold that even b'mezid it's mutter. Shema mina, we see Rav Papa as a source. The way Rashi puts this out is that just in construct because it gets a little confusing here. But Rashi uses the word lativusa. There's certain things that make it better. So, for example, if it was brought out b'shegig, that's like chada lativusa. That's one advantage. If it's returned back to its original place, going back to its place is another lativusa. So, Rabbi Nehemiah holds you need tarti lativusa. I need both things need to be there in order for it to be acceptable. It needs to be done b'shegig, and it needs to be back to its place. And the Tanakama hold chada l'tibus is enough. If it was taken out, that's bad. But it was taken out b'shegig, that's good. Chada l'tibus for the Tanakama, that's good enough. If it's brought back in, that's very good. B'mezid, that's bad. For the Tanakama, that doesn't bother us. Because I already have the fact that it was brought back in. It's chadal l'tibusa. So Tanakama only requires chadal l'tibusa. And Rabbi Nechem requires tartil l'tibusa, which means that if it was brought out, it's never good. If it's brought back in, then I still need that it's brought back in b'shegig. That would create the tartil l'tibusa. And Rav Papa's statement was that that if it's brought back in, even b'mezid, it's good. That fits with the Tanakama. That's how we conclude. Amar of Nachman Amar Shmuel. Nachman says the name of Shmuel Hay Mahalach. The person is walking. He doesn't know the Tchum. Mahalach Alpayim P'siyas Beinus. He takes 2,000 average steps. It's assumed that a step would be an Amma. Zui Tchum Shabbos, and that's the Tchum. The Amar of Nachman Amar Shmuel. Nachman says in the name of Shmuel, a lot of statements here already from Nachman and Shmuel. Shavas Bedika. Someone is in an open area. That's his place. Bikifu Nachrem Mechitza. And non-Jews surrounded this very large area with the mechitza. And they surrounded it, you have to add in that they surrounded it l'dira. They made an enclosure for dwelling purposes. Shabbos, on Shabbos itself. So, mahalach alpayim amma, you can walk 2,000 ammas. Umetaltal bekula, and he can also carry that. That's in al yedei zrika, through throwing. Problem is that the area that they surrounded is larger than the area that he's allowed to walk. So he himself has a limit on him. But with the items that are in this surrounded area don't have any limit on them. There are items here. Now, is he allowed to carry in this newly enclosed area? So what's the din with an Eruv that was made on Shabbos, mechitzas that were set up on Shabbos? We learned in Shabbos, in the Masechta Shabbos, we learned mechitza asuya b'Shabbos shema mechitza. It's good. The mechitza is good. The mechitza is good. The carrying isn't the issue. The issue is the walking. That's our issue. So he has the 2,000 amas, and he can carry in the whole area. But how does he carry in the whole area if he can't walk there? Oh, he throws it. So he can throw further than he can walk because it's surrounded by mechitzas. That's the opinion of Rav Nachman Amar Shmuel. Rav Huna Amar Mahalach Alpayim Amma Metalta Dalet Amas. Yeah, you have 2,000 amas, but you can't carry more than 4 amas. Why? What's the problem? Mechitza asuya b'Shabbos ishma mechitza. It's surrounded by an Eruv. Gemara asks, "V'nitaltal b'kulei al yedei zriko." Let him carry. He can throw it. There's an Eruv there. He can. There's no problem. So Shemi Yimashach Acher Cheftzei. There's a problem. If we allow him to throw it, he may end up walking past his tchum. His tchum ends in that area. He can't walk. There's a limit in this enclosure how far he can walk. We're afraid if we allow him to throw it, he's going to pass that limit. The Gemara says, 1 second. Rav Huna doesn't have to be so strict. He says that he can only carry something within 4 amas. What about the 2,000 amas to this side? Why can't he carry that way? It says, why did Rav Huna say only Dalet amas? Really? You should say you can't carry past the limit, but not before the limit. It says, but in the 2,000 amas, let him carry. It says, it's a problem. We never had a situation like this, where his location of where he's allowed to carry doesn't have a fence. The limit of where he can go is totally open to where he can't go. So yeah, he's surrounded by a fence on the outside, but his limit ends in the middle. So his permissible area is totally open entirely to an area where he's not allowed to go. So there's a concern that he may end up walking in there. Why can't he carry back? So it's nifrat b'milud. It has to do with Gezeira Shami Mashach. Okay, Rashi over here mentioned something interesting. He says, what happened in our Mishnah? We had a story in the Mishnah. Someone goes to another city. He's taken to another city, which is surrounded by mechitzas. So Rabbi Gamliel holds, or he's put into a pen, a deer, besar. So Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah say that he can walk the whole area. The whole thing becomes like Dalet amas. And here we're not doing that. Here we're saying that he still has his original limitation, even though he's surrounded by mechitzas. So Rashi makes it worse. He says that we know that Rav paskins like Rabbi Gamliel, that the mechitzas work. Paskins like Rabbi Gamliel, so everything should be good over here. You should be allowed to carry in the whole enclosure. And here we say that you can't, that the mechitzas aren't helping for carrying, or not for carrying. For carrying, they're helping, according to one opinion. They're not helping for walking. Why can't he walk there? So really, the heck of mechitzas only works only if when Shabbos came in, he was in that location. So how did it work in the Mishnah? Even though he wasn't in those mechitzas, but those mechitzas were there already. That's the difference. We'll see that at the end of the Gemara as well. That if the mechitzas were there already, it's different than if the mechitzas were set up. Because that shvisa that you have that makes the whole enclosure into Dalet Amos, you can walk that whole area. That's only if it was set up before Shabbos, not if it's set up on Shabbos. Okay. So we learned the machlekes so far between Rav Nachman and Rav Huna about carrying in this new enclosure. Rav Nachman says you can carry in the whole area. You can't go there, but you can carry there. How do you do that? You throw. Rav Huna says you can't carry at all in this area. It's totally open to a forbidden area, and you can't carry it. Chia Barav Amar Mahalach al Payim Amma. Chia Barav says that you can walk 2,000 amas. And Metaltal Bal Payim Amma, you can carry in 2,000 amas. What's this? 1 second. You can't throw past it. You can carry back. Is there a gezerah here, Shema Yimashech, that you may be drawn after your item that you just threw? If there is a gezerah, then why are you allowed to carry back? That's entirely nifratz. Your area is entirely open to a place where you're not allowed to carry. You shouldn't be allowed to carry back, like Rav Huna explained. So the Gemara says, come on, who does Chia Barav go like? Should point out that Rav Nachman is a student of Shmuel. Rav Huna is a student of Rav. Chia Barav is also a student of Rav, his father. Come on, who does that go like? The like of Rav Nachman, the like of Rav Huna. He's not like Rav Nachman, who says you can throw in the whole area. He says you can't throw. And he's not like Rav Huna, who says you only have Dalet Amos. He says you can walk back. You can carry back. Gemara says, Eima Metaltal Barba. No, he's going like Rav Huna. You can only carry within the 4 amas. Yochiana de Rav Huna. So then that's exactly the same thing. It says, Eima V'chein Amar Chia Barav. No, don't say also Chia Barav. Don't say Chia Barav says, say and also Chia Barav says. So if you do that, so then if you say it like that, and also then it's actually the same opinion. Amar le Rav Nachman le Rav Huna. Rav Nachman says to Rav Huna, like Tiflik le de Shmuel. Says, don't argue with Shmuel. Says Shmuel has a lot of support. Nachman is biased. He just quoted Shmuel. But he says he has a support from a brisa. The Tanya was taught in a brisa. Haya Maide Duba. Person set up his Eruv. Now he starts walking from the Eruv, 2,000 amas. But Kolsim Idasi B'chatzi here. He ends up halfway into a city. Says Mutter L'taltel Kaler Kula. You can carry in the whole city. The city has mechitzas. The whole city becomes Dalet Amos. It's fine. However, because you weren't in that city when Shabbos came in, so your tchum actually ends in the middle of the city. But in the whole city, you can carry. You just can't walk past that. But my metalpal, so how do you carry if you can't go there? It must be that you can throw it. See, Shmuel is correct. You have a limit on your walking, but you don't have a limit on your carrying. So you can throw past it. It's not items that were taken with you. Talking about items that are in the city, that don't have a limit on them. Rav Huna responds to that, Loi, that's not what the Mishnah means. The Mishnah means al yedei Mashiach, you can pull it into you. You can't throw past your area, but you can pull it. If you throw past your area, then you may end up going to it. Oh, I didn't throw it good. Let me go over there and get it. But if you pull it towards you, then we don't have that same concern.
That's very helpful because Jews are notoriously bad, have bad arms when it comes to throwing.
But Hank Greenberg. There's only one. Okay, Amar Rav Huna. Rav Huna says, person is measuring. He ends up not in halfway in a city, but halfway in a courtyard. He only has half the courtyard. Now, what does that mean? He only has half the courtyard. He only has half the courtyard because that's where it's tremendous. Which is Prita, of course. It's tremendous. It says, Ema yesh lechatzi chatzi. No, it's a chiddush. He has the other half of the courtyard. He has the half that he's allowed to. It says, well, Ainami Pshita. That's also obvious. That's in the Tchum. It says, maybe I could think that maybe you're going to end up carrying in the whole chutzner. Mash Malon comes to tell us that that's not a concern for us. Why? Because the chutzner had the mechitzas there beforehand. And if the mechitzas were there beforehand, we don't say that it's prutza to an area that he's not allowed to carry it.